Chapter 456 to 457. These two crows are the ones Kuroto sent to the current Mizukage and the current Kazekage before he sneaked out of Konoha. Since the current Mizukage Kartachi Yagura and the current Kazekage Pakura are his subordinates, so the secret archives of the two great shinobi villages are naturally databases to be used by Amatsukami. For this reason, Kuroto asked the two Kage to send several documents that he needed to study. From Sunagakure, Kuroto asked for the scrolls detailing magnet release and scorch release. These two Kekii Genkai involve wind as an element, therefore, Kuroto asked for this information. On the other hand, from Kirigakure, Kuroto asked for information on the Kagaya clan. After the extermination of the Kagaya clan, a large number of ancient scrolls and a lot of information detailing the origins of the Kagaya clan were confiscated by Kirigakure. Kuroto, of course, read many of these documents previously while he was staying in Kirigakure, but he did not read everything due to the lack of time, and even the ones he read, Kuroto did not pay too much attention to them as at that point, Kuroto was more focused on studying many jutsu for his Suijin clone. And now that he is creating the wind clone using the genes of the Kagaya clan, so Kuroto needs to consider more things and study the Kagaya clan in more detail. At the same time, there is also some interest in finding information about the relation of the Kagaya clan with the Hyuga clan. So carrying the two scrolls, Kuroto came to his study, and after putting aside the two storage scrolls, Kuroto focused his attention on the two letters that are sent to him by the two Kage. After opening the letter sent to him by Yagura, Kuroto started to read. Firstly, Yagura described the recent changes in Kirigakure, the progress of finding and retrieving the lost seven swords, and also the progress of hunting the Nuke-Nin of Kirigakure. At the same time, he has also detailed the recent trainees that have been recruited to the 7 ninja swordsmen of Mist. Of all the trainees, 2 trainees, namely, Ringo Amuri and Hozuki Mangetsu, are quite good and are deemed to match with Kiba and Hiramakarei, respectively. There are many more such details, but Kuroto didn't pay much attention to them and started to speed read it to make sure he gets the basic gist of Kirigakure's situation. As he proceeded further, suddenly his expression changed as a certain piece of unexpected information caught his attention. Yagura has stated that recently the Toad Sanin Jiraiya personally went to Kirigakure. Of course, his visit was extremely secretive, so barely anyone knew about it, but more than his visit, the purpose of his visit was what surprised Kuroto. Jiraiya went to Kirigakure representing Sandaime Hokage, and the purpose of his visit is to invite Yondaime Mizukage Kartachi Yagura to the 3rd Gakage Summit. The reason Yagura wrote this letter to Kuroto is to ask whether he should participate in the 3rd Gakage Summit that is to be held secretly in Konoha. Kuroto was surprised by such a piece of information and muttered to himself with a doubtful expression. The village is going to hold a secret Gakage Summit? I didn't receive any news about it. Kuroto was doubtful, and in order to clear his doubt, he quickly opened the letter sent to him by Pakura. Similar to Yagura, Pakura firstly detailed the recent changes in Sunagakure, to which Kuroto only paid a little bit of attention. Then there's the news about her recent action, which was to adopt an 8-year-old boy by the name of Itsuki as her son, to which Kuroto quirked his eyebrow because he did not expect to hear such a piece of information. The fact that Pakura went as far as to adopt this Itsuki boy must mean that he has something extraordinary, thought Kuroto, and his doubts were soon cleared because Pakura then describes that this boy named Itachi seems to be able to use magnet release Kekii Genkai. Huh? This is unexpected. If I remember correctly, there was no boy who could use magnet release at this point in time in Sunagakure. Only Gaara could control sand, and it was many years after the 4th Great Shinobi War that the boy named Shinki was adopted by Gaara, and that boy Shinki too could use magnet release, but that's another issue. What's important now is, where did this boy come from? Muttered Kuroto with a doubtful expression. Since Pakura, the Godame Kazekage, has adopted him, so obviously she would have checked his background, which obviously includes no connection to the Akatsuki spies lurking in Sunagakure. Therefore, Kuroto is not that worried that him being a spy or anything. What's Kuroto worried about is that fact that this kid did not exist in the canon at all, and yet here he is. What could be the logical reason for the reason he did not appear in the canon but is present here? Muttered Kuroto while thinking to himself. And there is one theory that seems plausible. In the canon, this kid might have either died while performing some mission or he might have died during one of Gaara's rampage. Gaara's rampage obviously killed many of the Sunagakure people, and it wouldn't be strange if one of his rampages also killed this kid named Itsuki before he had the chance to awaken magnet release. But since Gaara has been taken in by Kuroto, and since one of the rampages was also stopped by Kuroto and Shursui, so it's quite plausible that this kid survived and later awakened magnet release. It seems likely, but I suppose I should still be careful. The appearance of an unknown element is clearly the work of butterfly wings, so it wouldn't be a surprise if more of such elements appear over time. So, it seems that I must become more cautious. After reaching this conclusion, Kuroto quickly went through the other information, before finally reaching the part that he wanted to read. And as he expected, Sunagakure too received an invitation to the 3rd Gakage Summit that is to be secretly held in Konoha. The one to pass this information to Pakura was none other than Elder Chiyo and Elder Ebizo, who have recently returned to Sunagakure following the conclusion of the alliance ceremony. After reading this information, Kuroto put aside the letter and thought, so, Sandaime-sama really intends to hold Gakage Summit secretly in Konoha, and he has decided to not even inform the Umbu of such news. I mean, it's not that surprising considering how much of a serious blow the Tri-Alliance suffered against Akatsuki at the War of Summit in Amigakure, but still, Kuroto was really relieved that he has the Mizukage and the Kazekage as his subordinate, else he might have never even learned of this news. At the same time, Kuroto can also understand the thinking of Sandaime-sama. The failure of the Tri-Alliance consisting of shinobi from Konoha, Suna, and Kumo against Akatsuki even resulted in the capture of Nii Yujito and the death of Yondaime Kazekage. Then the later reveal of the Yondaime Mizukage being secretly controlled like a puppet by Akatsuki, it has become a common understanding that the threat of Akatsuki is too great. At the same time, there is no telling who might be a spy of Akatsuki. So, Sandaime doesn't seem to want to take any chances. This is why the Gakage Summit, which used to be held openly in the past, can only be carried out in secrecy nowadays for the sake of the safety of the Gakage and the 5 great shinobi villages. After all, if Akatsuki were to learn of the news of the Gakage Summit, and also learn of the location that the Gakage Summit is being held, there's no guarantee that they wouldn't take advantage of it. Either they can directly attack the location where the Gakage Summit is being held, which would either result in the death of Gakage, or them becoming a hostage in the hands of Akatsuki, or Akatsuki could use their absence from their villages as an advantage and attack the villages to capture the Jinchuriki at the same time destroy the entire village. Akatsuki certainly has the power, so it's obvious that the Gakage will be careful against them. It seems that Sandaime hasn't been sitting idle these days, muttered Kuroto, as he is really surprised by political maneuvers Sandaime has been making these days. Firstly, Sandaime drew the surrounding small shinobi villages, including Kusugakure, Takigakure, and Otogakure, and tied them to Konoha's chariot using the alliance ceremony that was held a few days ago. With this political maneuver of his, the pressure on the borders of the Land of Fire would decrease significantly, allowing Konoha to shrink its strength to be deployed in important locations. Subsequently, Sandaime sent invitations to the other 4 great shinobi villages for the purpose of secretly holding the Gakage conference. Kuroto has to especially admire the timing that Sandaime used. From a general perspective, Sunagakure has formed an alliance with Konoha, and taking into account the fact that both Sandaime Kazekage and Yondaime Kazekage died at the hands of Akatsuki, Sunagakure would definitely agree to participate in the Gakage conference in order to figure out a way to deal with the Akatsuki organization. Then there's another fact that Kumogakure's Nii Yujito is in the hands of Akatsuki. Whether she is still alive or she has died is not yet known. So the probability of Kumogakure participating in the Gakage Summit is very high. If anything, Yondaime Reikage would definitely want to take revenge. On the Kirigakure side, Yondaime Mizukage Karatachi just got rid of the control of the Akatsuki organization, so his reputation has been harmed terribly. At the same time, he must bear hatred towards Akatsuki organization for controlling him, and for what Akatsuki did to Kirigakure. Therefore, it's quite obvious that Kirigakure too would agree to participate in the Gakage Summit. Among the 5 great shinobi villages, for have high chances to participate, and that Tsuchika Jinoki must also realize this thing, he would be under tremendous pressure, and wouldn't have any other choice but to agree to participate as well. From all these political maneuvers of Sandaime, it can be seen that he has come to the realization that when fighting alone, no village is strong enough to resist the Akatsuki organization. As such, he has started to weave a big net for the Akatsuki to trap them inside it. And for this purpose, neither the Umbu members, Umbu squad captains, and not even the Umbu commanders were informed of this news of the Gakage Summit. The fact that Umbu, the most trusted subordinates of Hokage, were not informed goes to show the level of secrecy this Gakage Summit holds. Kuroto naturally has no objection to it. In fact, he is quite happy to see these changes. Therefore, he immediately wrote a reply to both Yagura and Pakura, instructed them to participate in the 3rd Gakage Summit to be secretly held in Konoha, and after putting the letters inside the mouth of the 2 crows, he sent them toward the 2 villages. After dealing with this matter, Kuroto put his attention to the scrolls of the Kagaya clan that Yagura sent him as per Kuroto's instructions. These scrolls not only record the family tree of the Kagaya clan for over a millennium but also records various secrets and forbidden jutsu of the Kagaya clan. At the same time, many of these scrolls also record millennium-year-long research, exploration, and understanding of the Kagaya clan towards their Kekkei Genkai Shikatsumiyaku. While going through them, Kuroto soon stopped on a particular part that intrigued him, the blood exchange ritual. According to the millennium-year-long research of the Kagaya clan, they have found that the more talented a shinobi of their clan, the more prone to early death he would be, and the more frequently he used Shikatsumiyaku, the shorter his lifespan would be. Such a thing obviously made the elders of the Kagaya clan frown deeply, because more than the deaths in battles, the members of their clan would die of unnatural causes due to some kind of sickness. This cause of unnatural deaths due to some unknown sickness later came to be known as the curse of the Kagaya clan. Determined to find the reason for the curse, the bodies of the dead individuals were inspected, and after much research and postulation, Kagaya clan came to figure out the cause of this unnatural death. They were surprised to find that their bodies contain a certain type of toxin-like substance, and this toxin is the cause of their unnatural deaths. and this toxin actually takes birth in their bones and would later travel to all the body parts, thus quickly spreading its effects all over their bodies. Their guess was only confirmed when they found that the more talented a shinobi is, and the more he uses Shikatsumiyaku, the higher the percentage of this toxin present in their body. This also made them understand if they don't use Shikatsumiyaku, then they are unlikely to suffer from this unnatural illness, as the toxin would neither take birth nor spread to the whole body. But Shikatsumiyaku is the foundation of the Kagaya clan, and the members of the Kagaya clan are heavily reliant on this Kekkei Genkai of theirs. Using Shikatsumiyaku was also their only option to survive through the chaotic years of the Warring States era. Upon finding these results, the Kagaya clan did what any clan would do in their situation. They blocked this news and forbid it to be ever disclosed to anyone. Other than the patriarch and a few select elders, no one would ever come to know of this. In order to have time and the opportunity to break through the curse of the Kagaya clan, the members of the Kagaya clan traveled from the land of fire where they once lived, and where the conflicts were prevalent, to the land of water, an isolated country with not so much conflicts at that point in time. Of course, they did not stop their research all this while and delve all their efforts into finding a cure to solve this curse of theirs. Many inhuman experiments were carried out. There were many sacrifices of not only those of the Kagaya clan but even those of the other shinobi clans. Even the innocent non-shinobi and common folks were also sacrificed in order to find a way to cure the curse of the Kagaya clan. But unfortunately for them, they never found a cure that could permanently solve this curse. Although they did discover the method through which this toxin spread throughout the body, it was obviously through their circulatory system, which means the blood was the carrier of the toxin. While keeping this in mind, Kagaya clan soon reached the conclusion that as long as the blood is purified or changed, the volume of toxins in the body would be greatly reduced and the shinobi after the blood exchange would be able to live more compared to before. This was a temporary solution and it greatly helped in ensuring the survival of the clan. And a few decades later, the Kagaya clan also discovered an herb that, if refined into medicine in a particular manner and then used in conjunction with the blood exchange ritual, would further increase the effects of the blood exchange ritual. Now they could increase their survival rate significantly and be less prone to unnatural deaths. But the story doesn't end here. Of course, the blood exchange ritual proved to be effective, but it was not without its own disadvantages. Aside from the normal issues related to blood infusion that one has to deal with, one more problem started to emerge. The infused new blood, since it didn't belong to the shinobi himself, would cause some drastic effects on some specific parts of the brain, turning the members of the Kagaya clan into savage, bloodthirsty, battle-hungry, and ferocious from what they used to be. Initially, the members of the Kagaya clan did not have such a character. They were calm and peaceful people, much like those of the members of the Hyuga clan, but this toxin and its subsequent effects, including the treatment, changed them over time into what they became feared for, and what became the cause of their near extinction. But until the very end, they did not find any permanent solution to cure the curse of the Kagaya clan. It turns out that even after researching for centuries, the Kagaya clan couldn't find any solution. No wonder Orochimaru-sama, who had much less time and much less knowledge about the Kagaya clan, was unable to solve Kimamaro's unknown illness, muttered Kuroto in realization. But after understanding this, Kuroto's expression turned into a frown, and he hurriedly left his study and went to the incubation room. In the incubation room, 2 clones are being cultivated in 2 large incubation capsules, nutrition tanks. Although Kuroto obtained 10 samples of successful cell fusion, Kuroto's current finances obviously don't allow him to cultivate all the 10 clones at once, so he can only make do with what he has. Therefore, Kuroto chose the best 2 samples, the ones that seemed most active, and cultivated them into clones. And even if Tenseigan chakra is used to catalyze the cultivation process, the growth of the clone will take at least a month, so the current 2 wind clones inside the large incubation capsules are only about the size of a palm. Staring at the 2 clones, Kuroto muttered inwardly, "If the whole Kagaya clan suffers from the curse of the Kagaya clan, then I am afraid that even my wind clone will not be spared." The source of cells for the wind clone comes from Kimamaro, and Kimamaro seems to have already started to suffer from the curse of the Kagaya clan, so that means certain traces of toxin must have been present in the cells Kuroto collected. And no matter how many times Kuroto may have filtered these cells, there is no guarantee that they would have been washed away. So it is obvious that his wind clone too will suffer from the curse of the Kagaya clan. And according to the research, only a blood exchange ceremony can decrease the volume of that toxin in the body. What's more important is that the blood must belong to the members of the Kagaya clan, should be of the same type, and the person whose blood is being used in the ritual must not be suffering from the curse of the Kagaya clan at the time of donating the blood. In other words, it must be someone who is a member of the Kagaya clan, but shouldn't have awakened Shikatsumiyaku. No other option would work. And according to the information given to him by Yagura, other than the Kimamaro and Takashi, no members of the Kagaya clan exist anymore, and even if they somehow exist somewhere, finding them would be much more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack, so that option is no longer useful for Kuroto. I must think of some way to cure the curse of the Kagaya clan. While thinking about how to cure the curse of the Kagaya clan, Kuroto suddenly thought, what exactly is this toxin? And why is it that it only affects those who use Shikatsumiyaku? And most importantly, If this toxin is related to the Kekii Genkai of the Kagaya clan, then why aren't the members of the Kagaya clan immune to this toxin? If this toxin is related to the Kekii Genkai of the Kagaya clan, then why aren't the members of the Kagaya clan immune to this toxin? Was the thought in Kuroto's mind. Kuroto, who has studied and compounded various types of poisons and venoms, for many years now is no stranger to toxins. In fact, it wouldn't be wrong to say that he is also one of the few shinobi with an in-depth knowledge of both biological toxins or mineral toxins. Therefore, he understands well enough that all animals and plants that carry any kind of toxins are generally either directly immune to their own toxins, or they have a certain mechanism in their body that prevents the toxin to harm themselves. This is not some kind of magical thing, it's a strict requirement to ensure their own survival. If a species doesn't have a protective mechanism against the toxins produced by its own bodies, then that species wouldn't be able to survive for very long, and would soon go into extinction. After all, the survival of the fittest is not a joke. But the Kagaya clan managed to survive for a millennium despite the harmful toxin in their bodies. This shows that the toxin rooted in their bodies, more specifically in their bones, does not directly affect the Kagaya clan's survival. What this toxin restricts is the upper limit of their strength and how much they can or cannot use or explore Shikatsumiyaku. And this uncharacteristic restriction somewhat reminds Kuroto of the Manjikyu Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. The Manjikyu Sharingan, in a true sense, is just the product of the Uchiha clan's in-depth development of their own Sharingan Kekii Genkai. True, there are several extra requirements involving emotional stimulations and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it is still the next stage of the evolution of their Kekii Genkai. Manjikyu Sharingan represents the pinnacle of visual prowess that a single Uchiha can have, before losing his light and eventually going to blindness upon continuous use unless he awakens the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan by taking the eyes of his blood relatives, preferably siblings. However, Otsutsuki Hagoromo and his eldest son, Otsutsuki Indra, never faced this problem of blindness. Why is that the case? It's obviously because their chakra was strong enough, but that alone cannot be the reason. After all, if it's just chakra, then Madara and Sasuke also shouldn't suffer from this blindness effect because they are reincarnations of Otsutsuki Indra, thus possessed Indra's chakra. Yet, they did and suffered, which means that strong chakra itself is not the key. Kuroto attributes this to the thinning of their bloodline. Rikudo Sannin and his son Indra's bloodlines were pure. As such, they never needed the eyes of their brethren. However, the blood of Rikudo Sannin in itself has gradually become thinner and thinner generation by generation over the course of 1,000 years of reproduction. Even if Uchiha clan took the policy of not allowing the blood of the clan from flowing out of the clan, or foreigners not entering into the clan, and limited marriage between the members of the clan only, it couldn't have been a 100% foolproof approach. There have to have been hundreds of instances in the millennia when the members of the Uchiha clan reproduced with the non-Uchiha. As a result, gave birth to half Uchiha children whose bloodline was thinner compared to their parents. And this process went on until Indra's bloodline became extremely thin. As a result, a single Uchiha is unable to support the huge consumption caused by the Manjikyu Sharingan, and his eyes will inevitably be sealed the more he uses. The Uchiha clan should have been trapped in this problem for many years, but they eventually found a solution, which is the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. That is, by the fusion of the Manjikyu Sharingan of two blood relatives, preferably brothers. They are probably able to bypass the thinness of their bloodline and obtain eternal light. This way, the problem of bloodline thinness is fundamentally solved for that particular Uchiha, and his eyes again evolve into the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, a Manjikyu Sharingan, that does not go blind. And for some reason, the curse of the Kagaya clan seems a bit similar to Kuroto. Of course, there are many differences, but the matter of bloodline thinness seems to be the cause. Does that mean the cause of unnatural illness caused by this toxin in the Kagaya clan is also the result of their bloodline becoming thinner over course of the millennia? As this thought came into Kuroto's mind, he quickly realized that if his guess is correct, then the mysterious toxin rooted in the bones of the Kagaya clansmen is not a simple toxin. But this is just a guess, and it is not enough to prove Kuroto's theory. So, instead of speculating out of thin air, Kuroto started to carry out a few experiments that would help him in understanding the true characteristics of this toxin. Because the toxin is circulated throughout the bodies of the Kagaya clan members with blood as the medium, so Kuroto quickly took out the sample of Kimimara's blood and tried to extract the toxin out of it in order to research this toxin. And the extraction process went quite smoothly. Kuroto quickly identified the unknown toxic substance in Kimimara's blood, then separated it from the blood using the simple centrifugation process. But as the toxin particles were gradually separated from Kimimara's blood and collected in another solution, Kuroto soon encountered a problem. Kuroto was surprised to find that once this toxin present in Kimimara's blood was purified to a certain level, it became impossible to collect, or rather, impossible to hold somewhere. No vessels in his laboratory could hold the toxin. Even if they were made of some of the best and strongest substances in existence, they would just collapse in the face of this toxin and turn into ashes. Kuroto never expected that a day would come where he would encounter such a problem. Holding a mere toxin has become an impossible task. Okay, not a mere toxin, but I think that the main point is still cleared. No equipment in his laboratory was capable of holding the purified toxin. Although he felt troubled, Kuroto did not let it bother him too much. because this phenomenon of things collapsing and disintegrating into ashes reminded Kuroto of the effects of Otsutsuki Kagaya's all-killing ash bones. Kagaya's all-killing ash bones are capable of disintegrating anything and everything with a mere touch alone, and unlike the truth-seeking orbs, which have similar effects, in the case of all-killing ash bones, even senjutsu is pretty useless, so anything that these bones touch soon collapses into nothing more than ash. Upon this discovery of his, Kuroto was more sure of his guess. It does seem that the Kagaya clan's ability to control their bones is a much weakened version of Otsutsuki Kagaya's ability to manipulate her bone structure into all-killing as bones. After understanding this, Kuroto's gaze flickered, and he entered a thinking mode. Otsutsuki Kagaya also protruded all-killing ash bones from her body, but she remained unharmed from them, which means that she is immune to the effects of all-killing ash bones. But the members of the Kagaya clan aren't. Of course, just because Otsutsuki Kagaya is immune to the negative effects of all-killing ash bones by no means imply that those of the Kagaya clan have to be immune too. Can also be attributed to Otsutsuki Kagaya being the progenitor of all chakra. Her Byakugan is a true Kekkei Mora, and her body is extremely strong, probably the strongest in the shinobi world. This means that her body is strong enough to negate the negative effects of all-killing ash bones. And if all his guesses are indeed true, and if Shikatsu Miyaku is a weakened version of all-killing ash bones, then Kuroto feels kind of sorry for the Kagaya clan, as they have probably been the unluckiest of all the descendants of Otsutsuki Kagaya. Even though Kagaya clan inherited the most dangerous ability from the arsenal of Otsutsuki Kagaya, because of thinning of their bloodline over the course of millennia, they cannot use this most dangerous ability. In the case of the Manjikyu Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, they only lose the light of their eyes because of their thin bloodline, but in the case of the Kagaya clan, as their Kekkei Genkai develops more and more, and as it reaches closer and closer to its true form and slowly starts to acquire the characteristics of all-killing ash bones, it actually results in the death of the Kagaya clan shinobi. Even if the Kagaya clan inherited the sage body of Himura, even if their yang chakra is extremely strong, even if their physique is perhaps of the same league as that of the Senju and the Uzumaki clan, in the face of all-killing ash bones, that is capable of killing even six-path level people with just a single touch, how can the mere Kagaya clan people who are nowhere near close enough to six-path level shinobi resist, and not die? After inferring this, Kuroto also understood that the blood exchange ritual that the clansmen of the Kagaya clan used to decrease the level of their blood toxicity is not actually a cure, but a method of self-weakening for self-preservation. When the toxicity levels in their blood decrease, the speed at which Shikatsu Miyaku develops into all-killing ash bones decreases, so although the members of the Kagaya clan get to live a longer life, they do so by sacrificing their strength. Of course, even this method of self-weakening is not a permanent cure, as sooner or later they do die, and this hasn't changed. The solution found by the Kagaya clan is completely incomparable to the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan has found a method to bypass the thinness of their bloodline and attained greater power in the form of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. But the Kagaya clan has only found a temporary method to extend their lives for a few, and that too after sacrificing a lot of theirs. Of course, the ancestors of the Kagaya clan cannot be blamed or called incompetent for this. After all, no matter how much they try, dealing with all-killing ash bones is simply impossible. If there really is a method to cure the curse of the Kagaya clan, then it is by possessing bodies as strong as Kagaya, Hagoromo, and Himura, so that the bodies can withstand the attacks of all-killing ash bones. Kagaya's Byakugan and Hagoromo's Rinnegan are Kekkei Mora. In fact, Kuroto even speculates that Himura's Tenseigan is probably Kekkei Mora too. And as for how strong their bodies truly are, it is extremely hard to imagine even for Kuroto. And attaining Kekkei Mora is obviously no joke. Let alone Kekkei Mora, that is the fusion of all 7 chakra natures. Even reaching the level of 6th path by the fusion of Yin-Yang and attaining the power of all creation is no joke. Therefore, the fact that the ancestors of the Kagaya clan could find a solution to cure the curse of the Kagaya clan cannot be blamed. At the very least, they did find a method to increase their survival rate by using the blood exchange ritual. After everything was said and done, Kuroto can't help but sigh inwardly. No wonder Orochimaru-sama couldn't save Kimimaro. In the canon, it's not that Orochimaru did not try to save Kimimaro. In fact, he did use everything he could to find a cure to the disease that Kimimaro suffered from, but he was completely helpless. The lack of knowledge about the Kagaya clan became one of the many causes of Kimimaro's early death. It is quite ironic to think that the curse of the Kagaya clan is actually a genius disease. The more genius a member of the Kagaya clan, the earlier he would die. Sighed Kuroto. Kimimaro died at the mere age of 15. He did not even have any chance of leaving behind any descendants. However, Kuroto soon put aside the thought and muttered to himself, "It seems that I will not be using the blood exchange ritual. The so-called ritual is actually self-weakening, not healing, and I obviously wouldn't want to weaken the clone." Despite this, Kuroto isn't much worried, because he is working towards Project Godhood. And the Project Godhood would be completed when Kuroto attains Kekkei Mora. When Kuroto attains Kekkei Mora, his body would be as strong as Otsutsuki Kagaya. So the curse of the Kagaya clan would obviously be meaningless upon him.